Our aging parents still want their independence at home, but at what cost?
Yeah, it really is a tough thing to do. But we're going to learn about ways to keep our parents safe at home and behind the wheel.
And this is Chick2Chick. As our parents, our loved ones, as they get older, the fact that they want to keep their independence is fantastic, but it can also lead to a lot of issues, a lot of injuries, unfortunately. And it's very hard to have those conversations with our parents. And I know you have had a situation with your own mom.
Yeah, it's tough. My mom's 86 years old. She watches this podcast all the time.
Hi, Mom.
She wants to live at home. And I get that and I respect that. But I worry about her all the time about falling. And in fact, she did fall inside the home. She was in the garage. She didn't have her cell phone with her. And she finally, after a while, crawled into the house to get to the phone to get help. And I worry about her all the time. And I think a lot of people in our situation are dealing with the same
Especially when you have a parent home alone.
Yeah, it's really tough. Which brings us to our guest today. Krista Brands is the CEO of the American Trauma Society Pennsylvania Division. Krista, thank you so much for coming on this podcast. Seniors falling in their homes. This is a major cause of injuries among the elderly, isn't it?
It is. In fact, when we talk about this with our partnering trauma centers, senior falls is either the number one or number two mechanism of injury across the board.
My mom also fell too, and she's going to hate it because she was so embarrassed. She was so embarrassed about it. And I think oftentimes our seniors are very nervous about admitting that there's an issue and finding that help. So how do we, like Flora and I, the kid, or the aunt or whatever, to our aunt, how do we help them? What do we do?
There are ways, and it is very important. We want to make sure that they are able to maintain their dignity, to remain as independent as possible for as long as possible. And there are ways to do that. The first thing that you want to make sure you do is fall-proof their home as best you can. And there are certain things. They struggle with balance as they get older. They struggle with physical strength. So we want to make sure that we're eliminating as many hazards as possible. Throw rugs. If they have throw rugs, make sure there is some sort of adhesive or anti-slip gripping on the bottom of those throw rugs. Make sure that grab bars are installed in the tubs and showers. We offer anti-slip bath treads that you can put in the tub to keep them from falling. There are so many different things like that you can do to help eliminate that risk.
So you brought up the throw rugs, and I have this conversation with my mom all the time. I'm like, Ma, I don't call her Mom, I call her Ma. It's a Pittsburgh thing. Get rid of these throw rugs. They bunch up, and I see her, she walks with a cane, and I'm like, oh, she's going to fall. And the recovery, once they fall and they do have an injury, let's talk about that. Yeah. It takes them a long time to recover from these things.
It does take a long time for them to recover. And the sad thing is, once they sustain one fall, they have a greater chance of sustaining a second fall. And one of the reasons for that is once they fall, they then become fearful. And so when they become fearful, they tend not to go out and do things. And if they're not going out and doing things, they're sitting more, they're not as active. And so we need to make sure that we keep them active and moving, and that helps with their confidence in not falling.
Yeah, so if we want to have some of these safety measures in place, you mentioned the handlebar for the rail, I guess it is, in the bathroom, and how the furniture is configured and everything. What's the best way for us to go about it? Is there a place that we can go? I mean, look at when we have babies, there's all this material about how you baby-proof a home, right? Gadgets, gizmos, and you get them at Babies R Us, but there is no Elderly R Us. So what do we do?
You can reach out to our organization. We do have these items that we are able to distribute in certain circumstances. You can also reach out to your local hospital. They oftentimes will have resources of ours that we provide. Providing the senior receives some sort of fall prevention education, they can then receive one of these, what we call fall prevention bags, especially if they have already sustained a fall.
Yeah.
And in these bags, flags are the bath treads and night lights. You want to make sure that their path is illuminated, especially at nighttime. And so they can reach out to their local hospital and or to our organization for those.
What about some sort of a device to have with them in terms of a communication? I know they have their cell phone, but like my mom fell in the garage.
Well, and the same with my mom, where she fell, she had to wait for my aunt to come to get her. So they were both in a precarious situation.
Is there any type of a quick device that they should have with them all the time that they can push a button and help will arrive?
We would always say cell phone, because that's their most direct line of communication. Second to that would be something similar to the Life Alert, that you've seen the commercials where they can wear it around their neck and call for emergency help. Yeah. We also have an item. This isn't necessarily a direct line of communication, but it is a reflective light and whistle that we have at our office here. This is something they can wear if they're out and about, not just in the home, but if they're out and about and they fall and no one hears them, there is a reflective light on here for in the evening when it's dark. It's a whistle that they can at least draw some attention to themselves if they would fall.
Mm-hmm. I hate to ask this question, and my mom's going to kill me for even asking this question. She's 86. She has fallen in the home. She broke her hip on a different occasion, and I worry about her. And I think a better situation for her would to be, either in some sort of a facility where it's independent living, but at least there are other people around. I feel that would be a better situation for her. She wants to stay home. Is there a point where you just have to say, like, this just isn't safe and we need to put you somewhere else? Should you have that conversation at a certain point?
Well, of course, that conversation should be had at a certain point. Of course, it's very individualized. It's based on your situation, on your scenario. Certainly, I would say if your parent or if the senior has sustained several falls, that's something then that you would want to jump in and start having that conversation. Senior centers are a great option. There are independent living places. Some are excellent. Some have social activities for them to keep them active. They have exercise programs, which, especially when we're talking about balance and physical strength, it keeps them social, it keeps them active. And oftentimes there are many opportunities that are afforded to these folks at these types of places. But again, having that conversation is very difficult. You want to focus on how much you care about them and how you want to make sure that they're enjoying their life and having the best satisfaction that they can have.
Yeah, you want to talk about another difficult conversation.
Oh, good. Here we go.
Driving. Now, I remember when my grandfather, my dad was giving my grandfather a hard time, telling him, you got to stop getting behind the wheel. I mean, you're going to hurt yourself. My dad's 83. I'm not saying we're there yet, but we're going to get there, right? And that is a real independence stealer right there as well, when they can't get out and do their own thing. How do you know when it's time to say that, and what do we say to them?
Well, you'll start to notice certain things, particularly if you ride with them. You'll notice that oftentimes the reaction time is much slower. You'll notice headlights might start to bother their eyes a bit more. And those are some of the things that you'll notice and that you'll want to draw their attention to when it is time to have this conversation. And again, it's a very individualized response situation. But those are some of the things that you want to look for. You'll notice that they may not enjoy driving at night as often. So those are some of the signs that you can look for.
So,
and it is just to your point, it's something that it's taking away their freedom. It's taking away their independence. So we need to be very sensitive to that.
Yeah. So I didn't have to have that conversation with my mom. She just relinquished her driver. She never liked to drive anyway, so that was okay. And it is a tough conversation. So what do we say to them so they don't feel bad? Because as you said, it's taking away their independence. It's taking away their freedom. How do you convince them that this isn't a good idea anymore? Give us some tips for the conversation.
If you can focus on one, that you're doing this, one, for their safety, and two, for the safety of others. If you can reassure them that they will still have their independence, possibly in other ways, If you can reassure them that they are not a burden, that you possibly can make sure that they get everywhere they need to go. If you can assure them that they will still be able to sustain the same quality of life that they had prior to giving up driving, that would be helpful also.
So say you have a senior who is becoming a little more frail. Mentally, they've got it all there, and you're not worried about the decision making, but it's maybe how they're sitting in the seat. Maybe it doesn't fit them as well. Maybe, I know the lap belt or the shoulder belt can be uncomfortable at times. Are there things to make it more comfortable for seniors who aren't as comfortable sitting in the vehicle?
Absolutely. One of the first things you want to make sure is you want to make sure that that vehicle still fits them. Mm-hmm. And there is a program called CarFit. And it is basically a 30-minute program where the senior will bring their vehicle and folks will help fit them to their vehicle. So they will look at the seatbelt, make sure that's fitting properly. They will make sure that they're able to get in and out of the car safely. And there are different props that they will use in this education. There are different aftermarket products that are available. Like, for instance, I know this is a little large for me to show here, but this is, you can see it. Yeah. This is a swivel seat.
Yeah.
And you can get a booster seat, as silly as that sounds, you can get a booster seat, but these swivel seats, when they sit down, they are then able to turn the seat to help them get their legs in the vehicle. There are rear view mirrors that are much larger and provide a wider scope of view for folks. If they don't sit high enough anymore, it gives them a greater line of vision. There are seatbelt grabbers that they can use if they struggle with flexibility and mobility. They can use this to reach across to pull the seatbelt so that they're able to buckle. And then there are other options that are available that would require a prescription from an occupational therapist, but things like pedal extenders and those sorts of things.
Wow,
that's interesting, and they're all good points because my mom has problems getting in and out of the car.
So even for a passenger, that's a really great idea.
She has problems, and she has difficulty even getting the seatbelt. Mm-hmm. I take her somewhere, I've got to pull the seatbelt and snap it in for her. This is a little bit of a controversial question here, but do you think we should get to a point where seniors have to be retested to maintain their driver's license?
That is an option, and I know there are certain things. I don't have a lot of information about this, but I know that there are things in place where they can be reviewed by a police officer. If they happen to see them driving, they can possibly pull them over and assist them and go over things with them. It is a pretty controversial topic, and it's one that we don't generally talk about too often for that reason. But certainly there are ways, as if you have a senior parent, there are ways and there are folks for you to reach out to discuss those things with them.
And one more time, if people want more information, go ahead.
No, you got it, girl.
If people want more information about keeping our parents safe at home and the program for the drivers, can we have that one more time?
Sure. You can reach our organization here at www.atspa.org, or you can reach out to South Central PA Highway Safety. They are also here at our office, and that phone number is 717-766-1616.
Perfect. Perfect. Krista, we loved having you on the podcast today. And
Thank you.
For both Flora and I having to probably have hard conversations eventually with our parents, thank you for giving us the guidelines.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Krista. Hey, Mom.
Don't get mad at her, Mom.
Ma.
She loves you.
Ma, I love you. Okay, don't get mad at me.
We got to do this. I
didn't throw you under the bus. She's just a perfect example. And I worry about her all the time.
I know.
All the time. I'm like, she didn't answer the phone. She fell
down.
That's the first thing that goes into my mind.
Well, I'm the same way because my mother will scale up a building if she needed to get to something.
She's a little bit of a wacko.
She's nuts. So I worry about her and worry about my dad. That's what we do. We worry because we love them.
Yeah.
And we love you because you were here with us today. Thank you so much for tuning in. Do us a favor. Head over to our YouTube channel, like and subscribe until we are back. This one and me to chirp about another topic.
If my mother doesn't kill me.
She might.